So there is this quote by a samurai named Miyamoto Musashi that has always stuck with me, which is, "It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in the war." And how I took that quote to mean is that it's better to be prepared in times of peace, building skills, building your resilience, building your strength, and really preparing for the worst case scenario when it's not expected or needed, than to wait for when chaos strikes and you're sort of in a vulnerable position, as in the gardener, where you're sort of planning for peace and things erupt around you and you have no idea how to prepare for that change that has occurred. And it guided me a lot throughout the past few years of self-improvement that I put myself through, and in a positive way, whether it be with fitness or getting my mind right, or just even small things like how I took care of myself, my dress, upgrading my skincare routine. All these little things gave me the skill sets and the tools to better understand myself and how to move in moments of uncertainty because of the way I prepared myself for it. I think part of my mindset in all of it was really thriving on doing hard things up front, because then I knew the rest of my life or within that specific skill would be easier. So, things like going for Muay Thai as my first martial art, because it had a higher learning curve. It was more complex than boxing because it involved about almost 6 more weapons to worry about in that martial art. But the benefit of it was, once I got a grasp on it and I got the fundamentals, it's now a lot easier for me to transition into boxing or taekwondo because I already have all the basics of all the tools that I need for those different arts. And so this mindset definitely stayed with me and guided me on really enjoying doing the things that others wouldn't, in terms of difficulty, in terms of how much patience it required, in terms of the type of person I would have to become in order to achieve these things. Because then it's almost a boost for your own self-esteem of being like, because how much I love myself or how much I perceive I'm worth, I'm willing to do these things to make my life easier in the long haul, even if I can't benefit from it today. And I think that level of trust in yourself is priceless. But, as I talk about the first half of this quote, I do have a new perspective on the second half of this quote that I feel like is an important transition when you mature in this mindset of learning how to build your skills or build your mind or build your body, or build your talents and gifts. That once you've cleared the path for it, once you've gone through these gauntlets and you have what you feel is enough of a skill set or an understanding of what you want to build, I believe the second phase of life is becoming that gardener in a war. And not in the mindset that you're unprepared for chaos, but more so that even in times of chaos, you can build and nurture things to fruition. And it was not an easy mindset for me to get to. It actually came fairly recently, in the last 3 to 4 months, because I'd been building it indirectly while building these skills. Like, I had to learn things like patience and consistency and, knowing my mind and the ways that it would try to psych me out of doing hard things. I found it almost encouraging, but also kind of scary when I saw this clip of Usain Bolt, and he was practicing and they were documenting his journey. And this is after he'd become Usain Bolt. He already had the medals. He's already the pride and joy of Jamaica, and, just a legacy act in track and field. And so he's training, but you can see the exhaustion. You can see behind the curtains of the charisma and the effortless wins of how much work he has to put in to succeed in his craft. And it was actually, I think, that same practice that his father came to visit. And after watching him train for, I think, like 20, 30 minutes, he was like, I have to go because it's hard to see my son put himself through this for it. So the father left. He couldn't even watch. And Usain is laying on the track, having after vomited a couple times. And he's even saying to himself that as he's laying down, there's a voice in his head that says, we've done enough, we've already got the medals, we've already become an Olympian, let's go play football, let's go do golf, let's go do something different. And this voice is still chiming in his head, even at the highest level of the game, even when he's already proven beyond a shadow of the doubt that he is who he dreamed he could be. And so, I don't know about you, but I've definitely had those voices in times of hard work, in times of even just studying for a test in school. Sometimes you're just like, I don't want to do this. And so it was both encouraging to know that if you have that voice in your head, it's not a sign of stopping, but at the same time, you will always have that voice in the head. So there's always a sign of work to be done. And so I feel like the next stage of becoming the gardener in a war is learning how to maintain and nurture things, almost being motherly to your crafts, to your skills in times of chaos. You know, whether you're working a full-time job and you want to also be an artist, so you have to find ways to balance that. Whether you're a mother and you have children and you have to find ways to do your crafts or hobbies that you want to get better at. Whether you have different skills that you want to do at once. Maybe you want to be good at a language, but also you have you want to get better at engineering, or you know, you want to be a good soccer player. And you have to find ways to time manage and manage your energy. I think there's something to be said about a marathon mindset, is what Nipsey Hussle called it, which is knowing how to sustain and maintain your pace throughout all the ups and downs of life. I remember someone saying that life is really more like a decathlon than a sprint because of how much stuff you have to jump over and hurry through and crawl under just to figure out your path. And so, you know, I think that when you find what you want to build, you know, whether it be a semi-short-term goal, something you want to achieve in 6 months or a year, or if it's something that really feels like a legacy to you, something that might take you 5-10 years. I think that transitioning from sort of the active assassin who's hacking the way through and sort of bringing the debris from the ground and really upheaving all old dogmas, stale paradigms, and ways of life and living that may have been good for you in the past, you know, but no longer serve you in the future. I do believe that once you've settled the things, you've created fresh soil, now comes a time for the gardener to come in and to really build consistently. I would say, at least for me, because I have more of a hyperactive kind of connective way of thinking, and sometimes I want things immediately because I can move so quick. It's even harder for me to imagine, okay, I gotta piecemeal this one step at a time for years. And the dope thing about building something for years, if you look at it logically, the benefits of building something over time is that there's way more certainty that it'll come to pass. It's way more sustainable to do over the long term. And it's a lot easier to try and fit 30 minutes to an hour to 2 hours, if you need that much, of work every day than to say I'm going to dedicate 5 years of my life to doing everything. And so I do believe that there is real validity in doing the warrior path first, or even only if that's what you want to do. But if you found yourself in the great place of having done that work and now you want to know how to maintain it, or the warrior's path feels intimidating of throwing everything up in the air and trying to figure it out and doing these immense changes all at once, I do believe that in this time, knowing how to nurture things and build things is also a radical skill as well. You know, really doing things for the sake of the craft, slowly, knowing how to be present, no matter how much time it takes, is a unique skill that I'm not even sure becomes evident until you take the time to find what is really worth that effort. You know, for humans, it's hard for us to see very far in the future and to be willing to abstain from things, from pleasure, and even just more live in a sense of discomfort of building something without seeing an immediate benefit in our life. It takes a lot of, I think, mental maturity or just immense presence in like love for whatever you're doing. Ideally, some combination of both, to really be able to do something for years. And obviously it's not 0 to 100, like you just get the benefit 5 years later, but to slowly craft and build something and really get past that initial stage of inertia until you have momentum and build and build and build. But I think there's such a benefit to it of, it almost mimics raising something, raising a child, you know, taking care of an animal. Building your craft for me has that same sort of energy to it of you having to be an adult for your dream, which is another video I made, which is you have to be a professional for your dream. And I think this is where that mindset sort of stems from. So, you know, I highly recommend, if you are in a part of your life where you've either thrown things in the air and you've made huge amounts of growth for yourself and now you just want to maintain, I think this is a good mindset switch to have, because it allows you to kind of get into cruise control and kind of feel like you in a 1969 Cadillac, just making your way to your destination. You know, warm breeze, not too hot, not too cold. And, you know, you got that quickness to be able to swerve around potholes and, you know, to kind of slow down when you see someone acting reckless. But I think there's some gift. There's a lot of new awareness that comes with being patient that allows you to catch a lot of nuances that you don't see when you're being that warrior. And so I think they're just different gear shifts in your life, you know, and I think it allows you to rest a lot more, which is a video I have to make. Actually, I think I have it on my list to make today, which is boredom is your gateway to greatness. Because I think all these things have come together for me in my perspective of a new stage of growing that require you to do the action, but now the other part of it, which is just as, if not most important, which is learning how to be still, rest, contemplate, and let your mind sift through all the stuff that you've experienced or consumed. I think silence is now the new luxury in today's time, with how much noise and access we have to information, each other, opinions. I think learning how to be still, learning how to be patient, learning how to just be bored, which are natural parts of life, have now become skills to be built. And if you can maintain it, I think it's a new level of luxury for your life. So yeah, that's what I got for today's video. You know, once you leave the phase of being the warrior in a garden, I definitely think it can be a fruitful path to become a gardener in a war and learn the skill of maintenance, of nurturing, of patience and persistence, and really being like water grooving down a rock. You know, it may not happen today, it may not happen tomorrow, but know that over time there is a almost near certainty that you will get what you want because you're willing to maintain and nurture it until you do. So yeah, peace.